Hello and welcome to Talk for the Town. I'm your host, Jessa Jeremiah. We have an excellent show for you today. We're going to talk to Sue Peck from Evolution Financial, get some sound holiday financial advice. We've got Occupaz joining us, and Karasu Home Care is talking about aging in place. Right now, a topic that is on many of our minds as the months get colder and colder, we're talking about energy challenges in the winter. I'm joined now by Adam Wisey and Brian Ott with Project Home, and we're so glad to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us today.
Lots to talk about, as many of you might be watching at home, a little bit chilly in your own homes. Now, why are some of the reasons that our homes can feel cold and drafty in the winter?
Sure. The two most common reasons are either too much air infiltration in the home, so draftiness, air coming in from the outside, or lack of insulation or improperly placed insulation in the home.
So you help folks with a lot of these exact types of fixes, and not only yourselves, but teaching others how to do that. One of the things we've talked about on the show before is air sealing and adding insulation, like you just mentioned. Is this a good time to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Any time of the year you can add insulation, air seal houses. Most homeowners think about it more commonly when it is colder out, when they do feel those drafts, when there is a lack of insulation. I guess we've got crews that work year-round, so any time is a good time, but especially now when it does get colder.
Good to know that you can solve the problem now, because oftentimes, like you said, we don't think about it until we start experiencing those issues. So good to know that that's possible now. One of the things that I know I've personally struggled with is windows and doors.
Right.
And what to do with those. Do you have some advice for us?
Well, believe it or not, the biggest thing that we find when people complain about drafty windows is that they're not closed all the way. Oftentimes with double hung windows, the top sash can drop down, so it's important to make sure they're locked. And then if you've done that, obviously the low-hanging fruit. After that, it would just be making sure that all the weather stripping is intact around them, making sure that they close and seal properly, making sure that the latches latch properly, or we can adjust those as needed. And then finally, if all of that doesn't work and you're still having issues with windows and doors, you could ultimately replace them with something more insulated or energy efficient. But it's generally not quite as cost effective to replace a window and door as it is to upgrade the insulation and cut down on the air infiltration from the outside.
Thank you for starting with the smaller problems first. I think that's great. A lot of times we jump to conclusions, think we need to replace the whole thing, but it might be something as simple as we're just not latching it properly, or we need to make a few adjustments. Let's talk about our heating systems. Is there anything that we can do to make sure they're working properly?
Yeah, there's different facets. The homeowner themselves can actually go through and make sure all of the supply ducts, the cold air returns are free and not obstructed. Changing the filters on a regular basis will help. And then if you do on a periodic basis, get a hold of a HVAC contractor, a heating and cooling contractor, and you can actually do a clean and tune with them, where they'll actually come in, clean the cabinet, the blower, tune everything up, make sure everything is working efficiently as well. So
that's nice to know. Again, starting with some of the more simple objects and moving on to potentially cleaning, and of course, hopefully you don't have to replace it, but always an option too. Another challenge in the winter, of course, are colder rooms. Like you might have a home where most of it's relatively warm, but there's just that one room, maybe it's above a garage or something, that you just can't seem to get it warm.
Sure.
What would you say to those?
Well, again, just making sure the entire building is properly insulated and air sealed will make sure those problem rooms perform better. If you've gone through and done that, making sure that the distribution system, like Brian talked about, making sure all the dampers are open to that room and that you have adequate airflow to the room, that the ducting didn't become disconnected, and those are probably the best places to start. You mentioned rooms above garages. We run into a lot of times the floor line between that bedroom, oftentimes a bedroom or living room, above a garage is very lacking in insulation, and that area needs to be much better insulated.
Wow, good advice. So you have programs and services that are available to viewers that are watching. How do people find out more?
You can contact us through our website at projecthome.wi.org. You can, call the office if you do need information, and that is 608 246-3737.
Don't worry, it's on screen.
And then, yep.
Good. You
so
also
those
have free classes on home maintenance, repairs, and energy improvement starting on January. I think that's great. So if any of that sounded confusing, which it may have, that's okay. There's classes, and these guys are a wealth of knowledge. So thanks for sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We appreciate it. Again, Adam and Brian with Project Home. You're watching Talk of the Town. We'll be back with more after the break.